This is Rob Zombie. You can listen to iWalter. I haven't heard it yet, but maybe it's good.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, it's Walter, and it is Sunday night. It's actually the 12th, Sunday the 12th of March. I actually didn't know if I was going to do a show or not. It was kind of funny, actually, because someone had mentioned it at work on Friday night, when I came in, and he said, oh, there's a horror convention this week, and he found it on his cell phone. He was looking at different things that happened over the weekend, and that was one of them. And I actually really wanted to go because I think they had a couple of the different actors, stuntmen, I should probably say, who played Jason Voorhees in the different versions of Friday the 13th. They never had the same actor for more than like 2 or 3 movies tops. And there's been I think 12 movies at this point. Damn it, I'm already stuttering. I didn't think I was going to start out that way. So, it was cool. I was going to go, and you know what? I ended up not going at all. So I'm kind of glad in some ways because, unfortunately, or whatever, this weekend is actually the big weekend coming up. This weekend's ended, so I should say the following weekend or the weekend coming up in the next 5 days. It's going to be a 4-day weekend around where I live in the Oaks, with a comic book convention. Now, that's what I really wanted to go to. I'm more for horror than comic book kind of things, but I was actually looking forward to this one in the Greater Philadelphia Expo because it had Colin Baker, and I haven't seen that man in, it has to be at least 30 years, maybe longer, actually, at this point. He played Doctor Who. So I was more inclined to go see that than anything else. Unfortunately, though, I could do both, but then I'd be just in more debt than I already am. So I decided kind of at the last second, I really don't want to do both. And you know what? I hate to say it. I was trying to mention this to a friend, and I think this has became the case with a lot of people. These people that show up at these comic conventions and horror fests, some of them get a little bit too big for their britches, I think. That's what I was trying to say. And, they seem pretty pleasant and nice, but sometimes when you meet them, you're kind of really disappointed, more so than oh, great, I get to see so-and-so from a certain movie, a certain TV show, or it's gotten really bad even now, I guess, with the people who show up that are, pretty much the same as the cosplay women and stuff. Because there's one particular woman, she is kind of like an actress and B horror movies, and I had texted her and I said, hey, are you going to be at comic convention? I missed you this weekend. I wanted to kind of be able to say hello again because I see her on Facebook all the time, and she kind of gave me in the only way I can think of it, she gave me the cold shoulder and basically without telling me directly, why don't you go fuck off? And it was what, that's very kind of that's what I interpret it as. And it's okay, you're playing these B horror movies that honestly no one ever heard of or even wants to bother to watch them. You are in there for a couple seconds. And I thought it was kind of cool that the one time I met this person, I had no clue who she was, that, I said, hey, maybe I can get a picture of you. She was next to somebody who actually played in quite a few of Rob Zombie's films, I think. This one, real actor. And she was cool about it. I was yeah, that's pretty cool. And she seemed very friendly. But unfortunately, nobody knows who she is. I won't even mention her name. I won't even give her credit for that. It's not going to make a difference because I don't have any listeners anyway. But it just really struck me the wrong way. I was like kind of like taken back. It's like, wow, you really are kind of fool yourself almost. Which unfortunately I just didn't understand why, but because nobody knows who this. Well, I mean, I can mention her name, and you still wouldn't like. Who the hell is that? I would think that the fact that people show up and somehow they do pay for her to go to all these different events. People pay to have her show up in even these bad horror movies that nobody's heard of. But I wouldn't get too wrapped up in myself over that. It'd be like if I was in her shoes, I'll let this go then. I hope. But if I was in her shoes, I'd probably like, wow, don't bite the hand that feeds you kind of deal. But obviously, she doesn't know, that that's the way things work. Because if you have like, you can make a living off of just people paying to go, let you go to these conventions. And I've seen pictures. She's actually gone, went around the world, different like really cool places. And somebody's paying for this stuff for her to do this. She's not making that much money, I don't think. I seriously doubt it. But, the last thing I would do is, kind of be kind of nasty to people. So that's just me. So bottom line is, wow, I was going to waste, my whole day, traveling to Jersey. I think it's pretty much would have been South Jersey, across the bridge in Philly mainly to see, probably her and a couple different actors and stuff. One was actually who I really wanted to see, and that one incident just left a bad taste in my mouth. Even though I didn't get to see her, was Christy Swanson. I was like, wow, I'd really like to meet her. But you know what? I hate to say this again. I've had more than one experience where, and it's generally with the female actors, that kind of just give you the cold shoulder or act like you're trying to make out with them, or you're just basically, you're a nuisance. And, with exception, I think, of a handful, I could say, most of them have been pretty nasty. I did actually experience some like really good conversations, more than just 2 seconds, and you get to talk to them. They were very friendly, and if they couldn't do something like, hey, could you give me a plug for my show? One guy, it was a guy actually, he apologized and said, I really can't do that, but unless you can contact my agent, I would definitely do it for you. Otherwise I can't because I'm in a contract. And it was like, that was cool. Who else did I meet that was very pleasant? It was actually, I can't remember her name, but she was an actress that was actually in Angel, a TV show called Angel. She was in a lot of Josh Whedon stuff, and she was beyond friendly to me. It means a lot, and she actually still acts and she's in a lot of film work, not as much as like, I shouldn't say a lot, but she's in film work still, TV shows, certain things, and she didn't have to like be very nice. I mean, she could have been just as obnoxious as somebody who was like a nobody was to me. And it would have not made any difference on her filming or TV career whatsoever. But, the fact that she didn't take that direction, it actually made a big difference. I mean, I still hold strong feelings like, hey, this person was really cool. And now I don't go out because generally what I'll do is like if I see somebody like a particular actor or actress who was kind of considerate to me, I'll take that like, hey, if they make another film or TV show or something, I'll check it out to show my support. Like one person's not going to make a difference, but what can I say? If you are like that with everybody, which is really hard to do, I think it does kind of like make a reflection. Like people remember that, and word of mouth might not make a big difference in your career, but I think it would make some kind of difference in impression, that it can spread almost, I would think, a little bit. So I don't know. Part of it's like a word of advice, but it also, I was talking to my one friend, Matt, and he was upset about one of his friends who makes him upset on what he says to my friend, Matt. And I try to explain to him, like, well, that's another thing, too. I came to a realization that, you can act like, when you're acting, that's all you're doing. You're acting like somebody that's not you, if you're an actor or an actress. But the thing is, though, if that's not really you in real life, and you're a total, basically an asshole to a person when you meet certain people that are your bread and butter, or, you come off as being like, Joe Cool or Miss Joe Cool or whatever, and, you are a different person in real life. I'm trying to tie this back into what I was trying to tell my friend Matt. Maybe I can explain it on my show that no one listens to. When people pick up on that, I hate to tell you, but they just kind of lose interest right away. Like, if you're like, one friend of my friend Matt, he's a nice guy, and I told him he kind of just, I feel uncomfortable around him, and I feel bad for saying this, a friend of my friend Matt. And the reason is because the guy comes off being like very secure, very cool, like the type of person you want to hang out with. You want him in your life because he's so cool, he's going to make you look cool or feel more like, God, I'm hanging around some really cool guy, But when you actually get to talk to this guy, this individual, he's a really cool dude, too. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm going to be contradicting myself. I realize that just now. It's something like you can't explain, but he comes off that he makes me feel very nervous and insecure about myself because he seems like this is not a real person. This is somebody trying to be somebody that, superficial, or the surface part of him is not real. And when you see the real person, there's nothing there. No substance, no nothing. No, I'm trying to explain this to kind of drag it back to what I was saying. When I experienced this today, and I actually thought of it beforehand. One, with this person who was kind of rude to me, and two, my friend Matt's friend. And what you see from like afar, if the one friend is, I'm trying to think, the one friend's a musician, a musician, and what I'm talking about is entertainers that are on film and TV. Now, the way they come across on stage or in film or on TV is like really different from the way you would see them in real life. So maybe that makes a little bit of sense. So that person you see, like when they're performing in some way, if it's acting or on stage, you see this person and it like, wow, this person's really cool. This is somebody I actually kind of want to hang out with if I ever was able to. But if it's not even hanging out with them, but, it's somebody that you get to meet someday and you find out, well, you know what? This is not exactly the way I had in my mind interpreted this person. So for, again, the individual that I was going to try to meet up with today, that just kind of like really turned me off completely. So that's one thing. Now, for my one friend Matt, that person that he's friends with, what I'm trying to say with that is my friend Matt gets upset because he says, oh yeah, he's really good with women and stuff like that, and I'm, neither me or my friend Matt, we're not really good with women. And when I try to explain to him, it's like, you know what? He may seem like he's good with women because that's what he's telling you, but in actuality, what I've heard from and putting all the information together from what he's told me, my friend Matt, he is basically, when he gets to meet up with these people, that they're actually, these women, I should say, they actually have no interest in him because they actually see who he really is like, which is he comes across to being very secure, somebody you can actually open up to and talk to, this one particular individual, my friend Matt's. But then when you actually get to hang out with him or talk to him, it's not so cool anymore. It's just like, well, this guy really doesn't have much substance to him. You don't have to appease people, I guess, or make people like, wow, this guy's so cool. I prefer to have somebody who is not showing a mask or kind of fake, that when you finally get to see, everybody does that though, actually. We wear a mask when we first meet people. Either we come across like not interested, or really secure on ourselves, or very cool, or coy, whatever you want to say. And then when you start to know that person, you kind of let your guard down. So I think everyone does that, but the thing is, how far do you go with that? Like, if you're somebody who really, is putting on literally an act in front of people, and people actually finally get to see the real person, I hate to tell you, but I'm sure those people, are going to be pretty much left alone, I guess, because are they going to be very lonely people? Because when people actually get to see the real person, they're going to say, wow, this person's kind of like either not interesting or maybe just plain, basically a jerk. So that's the one thing I probably still didn't do a very good job of explaining myself. I'm sure I haven't. But, I was just trying to like point out, unfortunately, Matt he doesn't listen to me, I don't think, like he used to. And it's part of it is I used to do shows every day and stuff like that. But instead of picking on my friend Matt this time, I'm actually taking the opposite direction and just let him know. Hopefully it makes it more clear on this. Maybe not. That, people like his friends and these people I meet at these conventions, sometimes they're like real people, and you can tell, and they're very nice. Or other times they are just basically empty shells. There's nothing to them. They're just empty shells who are kind of, I hate to say this, they're kind of full of themselves. Like, they basically get their nurturing or their love off of people saying how great they are or something like that, or basically idolizing these people. And I'm not any better, because eventually when I was going to these conventions, at first it was like a whole thing. Hey, I get to meet up with celebrities and be in their presence, because I put them on a pedestal. And that's actually, it's starting to kind of wear thin. And unfortunately, it was great when I was on my high with these people, of meeting them. And even my one friend, Matt's friend, when I had him kind of on a pedestal. But when you get to see these people and who they really are, the other thing that's kind of disappointing, it is a disappointment, because they're either nothing there, not much, not the way I had interpreted them to be, or it just makes it like, I can't even think of the right word, like, it just basically like, okay, there's really you know, it's almost like when you have a goal and, when you're trying to reach this goal, it's almost like the same thing. You're really excited. You're all pumped up on adrenaline. You think it's so great, because it is. It's very, very cool. And then when you reach your goal, then it's no longer that great. It's not that exciting. And, it's just like there's nothing to look forward to anymore. And I hate to say this, if that makes any sense, like, hey, like my one friend, he's going through college courses and stuff. When I was in college, I was really excited to I can't wait till I'm finished college, but getting to there with that anticipation, like, hey, the next 4 years, next 6 years, I want to be going to college every day, and at the end of this, something great's going to happen. I'm all hyped up on that stuff. And then, when you get to the end of your journey, so to speak, if it's school or meeting someone or putting somebody on a pedestal like I have in the past, that anticipation to either meet that person or to meet your goals or something like that, you're like, wow, life is worth living and stuff. Everything is so wonderful. Everything's so great. And, your viewpoint of the world is just so optimistic. But once you reach that goal or you see that person and you see what they're really like, or you're done your goal, because that's what I'm trying to say. It's the same feeling, though, either reaching a goal or just seeing somebody that you had on the pedestal. Like, you think they call celebrities stars for a reason. The reason is because you really do put them on a pedestal. You put them way up there, like they're above the clouds. They're like gods. And once you meet that person, you find out they're no different, or you reach your goal, like I said before, there's nothing to be excited about anymore. And sometimes it's actually a major disappointment. Like, for instance, to kind of wrap this all together, when I was in college, when I finished my degrees, because I had an associate's and a bachelor's degree, not a master's. When I reached that goal, all that excitement just kind of dissipated. There was like nothing to get excited about. It was a major disappointment at the very end of that time. There was nothing exciting. Or, these people, like, when we really don't know much about them, and, everything seems like cloud nine on their side, like, oh my God, this person, put them above the clouds, or, hey, they're so happening and I'm not. And you meet these people and you find out that there's nothing to them, and then life just becomes extremely, extremely depressing. So, what do you do? That's my question. What do you do once you find out that everything is not so great? They always say the grass is... Well, actually, that does make sense now. I was going to say, that old saying that the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence? You know what that means, folks? That means that your perspective of what is happening outside your world has to be better than, what's going on in your life. So what happens when you see that other perspective, that other side, that somebody else kind of imagine that everything is so great in their life and everything kind of sucks in mine, you kind of find out that things aren't any better. They're actually about the same, maybe even worse. Or, that person that you put on the pedestal you thought was so great, you find out they're a fucking asshole. It could be, or that they're, again, they're not that exciting. So it's just... I don't know. I didn't expect to spend the last 20 minutes talking about it, so I end up doing it. So, not intentionally. Honestly, I did not do this intentionally. It just ended up happening this way. But I'm actually almost... I wish I could take live callers. I did set it up, but I don't give my phone number out to hear somebody else's opinion on this, because I would actually... I'd love to hear, their point of view. But you know what? Even if I could give out my number or text somebody, hey, give me a call, I want to talk to you live on my show, there is a slight problem tonight because actually I might do it at, well, maybe I'll see. I may do that to one friend. But the thing was, I had some other stuff I want to talk about. One was very offensive. I found it very offensive. And it was something with these feminazis trying to get these little tiara girls, whatever you call them, like those girls that are on these TV shows, to use the word fuck. And, saying, hey, I'm, little 5-year-olds, little girls I've seen probably or heard about on these dance mom shows and stuff where, the mothers push the little girls at 5 years old to become very successful because the mothers never did. So they're going to take it on their little 5-year-old daughter. And it's like those type of girls, they did this little commercial for, and it was on Facebook. So I was like listening about 2 seconds of it. I was like, you know what, this was too much. So honestly, I didn't listen all the way through because it was just extremely offensive. And maybe I'm going to try to play it on my show. Actually, I totally forgot about this, folks. There was something else I was going to interject on my show, too. And it was interesting. And I did want to talk about Khan. I'm going to see if I can pull it up right now because I totally forgot about it. But it was the thing about Rush Limbaugh and being victimized. That's another issue I have a major problem with. So I see it at work, like, mainly with the women at work. They act like they're like, and they're successful women that are doing this kind of nonsense where they act like they're victimized. You can't even say hi to them before they or probably have you up in HR for rape charges or that you're being very offensive. But, and it was funny. I had a situation like this on Friday where somebody mouthed off to me, and I found it very offensive, and I tolerated it for a little bit. I let them kind of blow their steam off and yell at me and call me, like, basically scum, literally. And I got to the point that it was like, you know what, I'm thinking to myself, enough is enough. I didn't do anything to deserve this kind of behavior or treatment to me. Call me, like, scummy and stuff like that. So I got to the point, I told this person, I said, listen, you know what? Since you feel this way, I will deal with this issue in a different way. I will take you to HR. And also, on top of that, I told this person, I said, you know what, I'm going to go over to the management right now. I'm just going to tell them, listen, hey, I had enough and I quit because I really did have enough of being belittled and berated, called names, and these are supposed to be adults. And it was like, I found it extremely offensive. And you know what? Everybody who generally supposedly supports me, they weren't even around. They just kind of walked by like they didn't see anything. And one of them is actually a higher up supervisor who's a woman as well. So bottom line is, God, you got to, and I had stories in the mix tonight to kind of go further with this. I think that, well, actually, you know what? Let me step back 1 second. It was actually what I heard on Rush. Now, I could have ripped most of Rush's show and what he was talking about on Friday, but it was like, you know what? Then it just becomes a show of just basically kind of ripping everything he says, and it's not my show anymore. It's Rush Limbaugh's show, which you can't do. So I did kind of rip this one segment. I want to see if I can get that actually running in a second. Of, people being mainly from the media, and I do blame a lot of it on the media and our past government, meaning with Obama and his administration. For 8 years, you've had people basically convinced if you're a minority, you're a victim of some sort. If you're a woman, you're being victimized and raped by men, the evil white man. And if you're a minority of Asian or black, you are definitely a victim, and you need to overcome the evil white man. And that's basically what he said. It was on the third hour of Rush Limbaugh. So I kind of wanted to put that incorporated into my show. But then I thought about it. I was like, you know what, though? It's just going to be him doing all the talking, and it's not going to be no longer my show. It's going to be me basically copying everything he has, mentioned for the show. So what I did was, it was very difficult, honestly. But I actually got it down to, I'm going to actually send it over my phone. Oh, no, I'm going to incorporate this into my show. But, I can't do that, though. So I'm going to pause this real quick and just play this little segment, because there was more to it, and I don't know if I can do a good job explaining it. So here we go now. I'm going to try to edit this in and see if I can do an excellent job by doing it. I hope. I doubt it, but I'll try. But this, and then I'll try to explain it, because I'll have to listen to it again myself. So I'm going to pause this real quick and add this Rush Limbaugh soundbite.
If you agree that you're a victim of something, you are acknowledging that it's so big you can't overcome it. If you acknowledge that you're a victim, you can't do anything about it. Also, if you acknowledge you're a victim, it's somebody else's fault.
Oh, okay. Can everybody hear me? I can hear myself now. Now, that was very short. Now, that soundbite, because I just re-listened to it myself, does not mention about minorities. It does not mention about women. Does not mention about anything like that. That is because I had to make, the crucial decision. Do I really want to add all that stuff in or not? So I basically did not, but at the same time, it probably does not support enough my point. But the purpose of me even playing that little bit is this woman at work who was picking on me, or, basically coming down on me, she feels like she's being victimized from me. She feels like, hey, you're saying stuff behind my back that's not true. You're making up accusations. Well, it's like, you know what? If this is true and you really feel this way, you wouldn't have a problem taking me to HR, because you could actually get me on slander if that's exactly what you're saying. If it's exactly true, and I am making up stuff that's not true about you, that would be slander. And, I hate to say this, I know much better than that. So I basically, one thing I told her, I said, listen, hey, you're trying to say I'm making these accusations and saying stuff, but what I'm trying to do is get things clarified so I have a better understanding what I'm supposed to do at work. That's all I wanted done. And when I asked for help, there is, no response, and it just gets brushed over with, basically, I'm trying to think of the correct word again. What is that? She's basically, and other people are patronizing me by just saying what I want to hear. And then once I, hear what I want to hear, and I kind of calm down, they're just going to, not do anything about it. So when now I knew this was happening, because I've done it, several times, asked for help, and nothing ever got resolved, it was like, okay, I'm going to need to go to some other source and make sure this does get addressed, because I'm having a difficult time trying to get through to them that I have issues, a learning disability, and there's certain things I need clarified, and it's not going to take much more of their time. It's not going to break their back trying to, get this issue resolved, a particular issue at work. So, unfortunately, this is the way people work, and I don't want to, mention any name here, but you do see this, by the way, largely from the left. And I hate to say this, people who believe left-wing beliefs, which would mean they are Democrat, strongly believe that the only way you can get things done is by being aggressive, hostile, get into arguments, bullying, and that is not my way. So I generally keep my mouth shut. But this was one time at the very last moment I raised my voice and told them that, you know what, I'll get rid of this issue. You should be happy then, because I'm willing to quit. I'm willing to resign. No questions asked. I just don't want to deal with this bullshit anymore. So she kept on being apologetic, give me a hug and saying we're friends and, you're an excellent worker and, you've never done anything wrong. But it was like, that's not what you said 5 minutes beforehand when you were yelling at me and telling me that, I'm basically not directly, but in so many words or less, that I'm a worthless piece of shit who just basically goes around bad-mouthing people. So, hey, that's great. If you can prove this and prove that what I am saying is incorrect, or I am, basically saying remarks that are liable, slanderous remarks against somebody else or to you, then you shouldn't have a problem, because when I take you to HR, this issue will be resolved so quickly, because they're going to say, wait a minute, Walter, you're saying stuff that's not true about somebody else, which I'm saying what way I interpret things and the way I've heard it. So if I'm saying anything wrong, then you won't have a problem, because they won't have a struggle of getting rid of me. And if I quit, you don't even have to pay me. You don't have to even pay me unemployment, because when you quit a job, you don't get paid. You get fired from a job, then you collect unemployment, but it depends on why they fired you as well. So if the reason is because I was being hostile and not, any other way being insubordinate, I won't collect anything anyway. So it's like a win-win situation for everybody there. But she seemed like, and even the management said, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to make a hasty decision like this and just get up and quit. So to me, that was very perplexing, because, okay, hey, you're going to get rid of your worst nightmare, which is me. I'm the one who is creating a lot of problems for you. Obviously, I've seen it with the female management. They think that I'm some type of perverse sexual predator, the way I gather by the way they react to me most of the time. So, hey, you're going to get rid of your Achilles heel, your worst enemy, me, because I'm willing to just get up and walk out. I gave you my badge, and yet you just say, no, don't do that. You're such a great guy. So to me, that's like kind of very much so a contradiction. You say one thing and then you react a different way when I react back by saying, hey, if you feel this way, that's great, because you don't have to worry about me anymore because I'm going to quit. So why the contradiction in opinion? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. So that was like, that's why, and I was like I didn't listen to the whole thing at the beginning of the, on Friday afternoon, because it's right before I go to work. And I generally do try to listen to as much as possible, which is Rush Limbaugh. And yet he does speak upon, this whole thing that this all started. And I do believe that, especially in the Philly area, that we live with all these people that are, quote unquote, the minority group, blacks, Hispanics, and Asians, but mainly black and Hispanic, who have been brainwashed. I hate to say it, I don't know how else to put it, brainwashed by news, media, TV, and Obama, that these people, this conglomeration of people have truly convinced, these individuals who will vote every time, no matter who it is, these people who will vote Democrat, that you're a victim. You're a victim of your ethnic background. And they are so convinced that, yeah, this is true, and he actually did say this. This is where I'm taking this from. And I could have pulled this in, but I did not, from Rush's show. These people truly feel that they've been wronged. They have been truly victimized, and that's not fair. And quote unquote, it's from the white man. But don't worry, because in the next 30 years, no, actually, let's see, like 25 years. The white male is going to be, the evil white man is going to be the minority person, and he won't be able to harm us anymore. So the only thing is people don't realize, you're going to probably wipe out genocide almost. Not, I mean, that's a strong word to use, but you're going to definitely eliminate most of the white male population. But what are you going to be left with? You're going to continue to think you're a victim, but you're going to run out of resources to blame because they're going to be like a sparse group of people, the white male. It's going to be a sparse group, a very small percentage, and you're going to still, I hate to tell you this, but you're going to still try to place the blame on the white man because you don't know who else to blame. By that point it'd be like 35 years from now, or 25 years from now, I mean, and you're going to still be trying to blame that was the person, or that was the group of people, these white males, the evil white devil who was destroying your life. But you're going to get to the point, like I said, you're going to get your way. You're going to eliminate this group, and then you're going to continue to blame, but you're actually just going to be like basically talking to a wall at that point, because it's like people are going to say, I think it was the year he gave, by the way, I'm trying to guesstimate or guess the year that Rush was saying, by 2044, it's going to mostly be, most of this country is going to be Hispanic populated. So I'm guessing it's about 25 years. I know I'm off on that number, but I'm just going to say you're going to be in the year 2044, though, and the blacks and Hispanics, which will basically overtake 3/4 of this country, are going to still be pointing fingers at the white man of how he's held us back and how he's repressed us. And it's, but the problem is there's going to only be a few white males left, and it's going to make like absolutely no sense whatsoever what they're saying. So, you're going to still be crying victim, and then you're going to wonder why things have not gotten any better. In fact, they will have gotten worse if you continue in this direction. And the thing is, they're going to be like dumbfounded, and they're not going to figure out why it's, why did it go in that direction? Well, it's really easy, because you were so busy fighting people that weren't the source of your problem, and you continued just to escalate that you finally got what you wanted, and then you figured out that, wow, no, they won't even figure it out. They won't even hit that realization of, like, I would hope they would, but unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it's going to be too late to do anything. It's just going to, basically going to have you're going to have it much worse than you have it now, or what you think is worse now. It's gotten better in the last 5 weeks, but I'm just saying, if it continues in the progression it's going, you're going to have a bunch of people. If it would have continued in the direction that it was going, then we would have had Hillary in, which would have been just a continuation of what Obama has been doing. This would have been this process would have even been, sped up to a, quicker. It would have escalated faster. That we would have been a completely poverty-stricken country, where this would have been definitely one big welfare state, because that's the direction they were shooting for. And why were they doing that, though? Well, that's a good question. Well, because they want absolute power, and they don't want to lose it. And that I'm referring to the Democrat side. They don't want to lose this power they have, and they wouldn't lose it. But you're going to have two classes of people, upper class and lower class, lower class, and that's it. Because everybody else, there would be no other areas for. There would be no middle class, no three sections of the middle class, I should say. Because I remember in sociology, the professor said that there was upper middle class, middle class, and lower middle class. And this was like 30 years ago. And even then, he said basically the lower middle class is actually going to disappear. The middle class is either going to, go towards upper middle class, or it is going to actually end up down in lower middle class, which basically that means it would just be all lower class citizens. But yeah, basically, eventually, what he was referring to, that there would be no middle class. This was like 30 years ago. And, we've had a couple people who have stopped this from happening. And basically, years ago was with Reagan. I believe that both Bushes did a good job of slowing this digression down. And I actually believe now that Trump's going to do it, but unfortunately, it's not going to be permanent. It's not going to be a permanent fix. I think eventually that what's going to happen is it's going to go back in the direction of what do you call it? It's going to go back in the direction of, if the Democrats take over once again, they're just going to do. I mean, look what Obama did in 8 years. He's done so much. Not just Obama, but the Obama administration has completely set us back. The Democrats, or the people who believe in this, believe that the Democrats did all this. The Republicans did all this destruction. It's like, no, you've had power for 8 years. You've lost most of it because of your stupidity. But 8 years you've been in power, and look what you've done. You've done nothing, and minus put more people in poverty, and made more hate crimes exist. Made a larger percentage of people hate other social groups or ethnic backgrounds, or people of other ethnic backgrounds, more so than it's ever been before within 8 years. I mean, we've digressed so much in 8 years. It seems like we've actually went back 40 years or 50 years because of the way that the Obama administration just ruined everything. Anyway, I got a couple other stories. I do want to kind of play this. I'm going to try this out. And let me see if I can get my phone up and my speaker on. I want to play this because I got it on my phone. Hopefully nobody calls me at this point. And the Tierra Girls, as a comment, says, what's more offensive than girls saying fuck? Now, this was very offensive. Again, this comes in from nowhere, but I forgot all about it. I want to play it now. And I want you to listen to this closely. I'm sorry, that was my thing. And it is connected, so I'm going to play it now. Let me know what you think. I might make comments in the background as it goes on, but I'm going to see if I can get this correctly. So here we go right now. What's more offensive than girls saying fuck?
Pretty. What the fuck? I'm not some pretty fucking helpless princess in distress. I'm pretty fucking powerful and ready for success.
It says the power.
What is more offensive? A little girl saying fuck, or the fucking on equal and sexist way? Society treats girls and women. Hey, inequality. Women are paid 23% less than men for the exact same fucking work. Hello and hell no. Rape and violence. Fucked up facts. 1 out of every 5 women will be sexually assaulted or raped by a man. Stop telling girls how to dress and start teaching boys not to fucking rape. Be pretty. My aspirations in life should not be worrying about the shape of my ass. So fuck focusing on how I look and give me a book.
All right, so I think this is over now. Yeah, it's basically saying that. Sorry about that. I'm going to turn this down now or turn it off.
Yo, bro, when you tell a boy it's bad to act like a girl, it's because you think it's bad to be a girl.
Fuck that sexist shit.
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever read. Now, the bright side of that, by the way, folks, was that particular thing I just played. Believe it or not, there was tons of comments from women who were really pissed off by that. So that part I liked. They were like, God, the whoever made, I'm not even kidding. Comments on Facebook from women were saying that these people who put this together, which were a bunch of liberal, leftist, feminazis, the responses were that you are complete idiots. I mean, every response that I kind of bled through said the same thing, that these women are total morons and idiots. And these are from other women, by the way. They're not from men. So the bottom line is, though, this kind of mentality rate, this kind of nonsense with these little, like, 5-year-old girls saying what they just had stated in this infomercial or whatever, are like the same people that I have to work with on a daily basis. Not all of them, but a lot of them are brainwashed that, you know, hey, I tell a woman to wear, like, clothes that basically makes their body look more provocative, and they should be able to dress that way, and I shouldn't react to that. I should be more mature, and, you know, basically I should go fuck myself. That is total bullshit, dude, people. So, but I just wanted to play that for you. I would like to hear people's opinion on that. Again, I may actually try to do this. I said I was. Hold on one second. Try to text a friend and see if he's there, that he could be live on the radio. My friend Matt. Oops, I did it wrong. Sorry about that. Let me move my mic down. You will be, let me see, because he corrects me that you will be on the radio if you call in. Right. So I'll see what happens when Matt responds to that. Maybe I can get him to do a voice chat on the phone. Because I did it to my friend Matt, because I think he's the only one who would actually respond back. If he's awake. He might be, but he might be studying too. So anyway, I wanted to get that out. Now, this story is like, it's an in-between movie. It's in-between story. It was actually kind of interesting. I just want to kind of get this through. I saw this video before in this article. This time it was on the Mirror from the UK. And it says, transgender girl says she's rejected by straight guys for having male parts. Now, I saw this picture, and it was like, wow, this girl is, like, really cute. She's, like, adorable. She's, like, kind of really hot. And then I watched the video for this, and it was like, God, it sounds really like a guy. It definitely sounds like a guy. So it's been a while since I read it, but obviously it's a person who felt, young kid, who felt like they were born in the wrong body. And, you know, I felt kind of bad. But, I mean, personally, because I'll play the devil's advocate, because, you know, I'm a person who doesn't believe in this kind of stuff. But the fact that they look as much as they do like a girl, minus they have their male genitalia, I would say I would feel very uncomfortable, believe it or not, having them coming into the boys' bathroom, the men's bathroom, because they look that much like a girl. I just said that the person looks really hot, looks like a hot girl, until you hear her talk. So obviously, you know, she hasn't taken any hormone shots, or maybe she has, but she sounds like a guy. But she definitely looks like a female. Now, there's always, you know, thing go back and forth. And by the way, it is get up to an hour, so I'm going to have to kind of quicken this up. So, being said, I can't really go into much detail about this. Young Claire is joined by Devin, or it looks like Devin, Aaron, and Katie for BBC Three's Young Trans and Looking for Love, and given an eye-opening account of rejection, bullying, and suicide attempts. I would feel bad. I hope this poor kid does not try to kill themselves. I would really feel bad. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem hanging out with somebody that was a transgender. Well, the person's 18, so they're technically... Meanwhile, Devin, an 18-year-old who has gone from girl to boy, looks up to Aaron. Okay, so there was two different stories in here. One who actually went from a girl to a boy, and the other one who was one from a boy to a girl. Yeah, I mean, I always have issues with those kind of stories. I never quite understood those. But at the same time, you know, I'm not going to be a type of person that, you know, mocks or belittles or harasses people. Because I've had friends or people, we're friends and stuff, who basically may think differently. I know I do. Everybody else knows that too. I'm not like your usual person. And I get harassed and picked on, but apparently that's okay. But I hate to tell you, I will not do that to someone else. So, by the way, here's another story. I still haven't gotten. I don't even think I will. It'll have to be like a couple seconds, and it's probably better that way. But there's a story from the Daily Caller. I think it was a story that I might have mentioned before, and it said high school math teacher gets probation for traumatizing male teens with a bunch of sex. So, people look at these stories, they say, oh, that's a hot-looking woman, so she shouldn't get anything, she's too hot to go to jail, blah, blah, blah. And to me, I think that's a total bunch of crock of shit. Let the punishment fit the crime, not the person. Hey, if it's a hot-looking, you won't ever hear, you won't ever hear a guy getting off on a slap on the wrist, which I've said before, but you will hear this constantly if it's a woman is very attractive. Another reason I bring this up, most of the women that I deal with who are even upper management or management period are all women that would fit in the category of this quote-unquote math teacher who's had sex with teenage boys. So the bottom line is there's a double standard there where, and I proved this from on Friday, that it's okay for you to harass or pick on a white male, but heaven forbid if you do that to a helpless feminist who, is trying to stand up for her belief as being a woman. That's not right. You can't do that. Well, that's a contradiction, though, isn't it? So I don't have time to even go into this one, but it says a 29-year-old female high school teacher in Texas was busted for having a slew of sex with two different 17-year-old male students and has been sentenced to 10 years of probation. So this is the part that just really kind of pissed me off. And it goes on. There is more. So anyway, on a lighter story, because this is definitely a lighter story, no puns intended, it was from StarsTopics.com. I thought it was kind of amusing, and it's the next one that came up. That's the only reason I mention it, by the way. It says 37 shocking celebrity cup sizes you couldn't have guessed. Now, for me, that would be me mentioning this makes me sexist pig, according to the feminazis and the left. So it goes through. I'll just read a couple. Like Beyonce's is a B, 34. No, oh, I'm sorry. Beyonce, not B, Queen B, has a 34C bust. Let's see. Jennifer Lopez is a 34C. And Rihanna is 34B. And Rosie Huntington Whiteley, is 32B. Scarlett Johansson, which I think she's adorable. She has a weird voice, though. She's a 34C. Kim Kardashian is a 32 double D or E bust. Gwyneth Paltrow is 34B. Eva Mendes is a 32C. Blake Lively is a 34C. Sofia Varega or something like that. I've seen her before. I can't pronounce her name that great. She's actually, it says, believe it or not, I've never heard of that. She's actually, Sophia is a 32F. Kate Upton is a 34D. Taylor Swift is an A cup, probably. Oh, I was right. Taylor Swift is a 34A. And I was being sarcastic. I was trying to be at least. Jessica Biel is a 36C. Okay, it just keeps on going on. There's just like way too many people to go through. So, yeah, if you're interested, I got it up. Oh, wait, I got to read Katy Perry's. Yeah, she's 32D. D for dummy. I know that was really bad. Bad joke. Let's see. There was some stories. I'm going to read through these again because it's going to be way after an hour if I go through all this stuff like clearly through, which it won't be clear, but if I try to read them, let me put it that way, it's going to be taking forever. You know, we got a snowstorm coming up on Tuesday. And it's funny because at work on Friday they said, "Oh yeah, it's going to be." I swear that people were saying this. Oh, it's going to be like 20 feet of snow or 24 feet of snow. It's like, are you freaking nuts? You won't even be able to get out of the freaking house that way. You'd be buried under snow for, for about a mile or something like that. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. So, and then I heard, and they're still building it up and they build it down. Oh, it's going to be a lot of snow for not only one day, it's going to be 2 days of snow. And then they're saying, oh, yeah, it's going to be about a foot of snow. I guarantee you when it's all said and done, it's going to be but one pile of snow. It could even just divert from us. And it's going to be for a couple hours and it's going to be all over. And yet people are already raiding, grocery stores and cleaning out the shelves. I mean, it's ridiculous. Honestly, in 2 days, 48 hours, it's going to be the end of the world. I made a joke like that. It's going to be the end of the world. Anyway, one of my stories was from Fox 29. 2 wanted after a 13-year-old boy shot in the head in a restaurant. So this was in now this is funny. It's not funny, but it says Nicetown. So whoever heard of a place called Nicetown where you get shot in the head? Nicetown, of all places. A 13-year-old boy is extremely in critical condition, according to police, after he was shot in the head in a Chinese restaurant Saturday. Police released surveillance pictures of the two men, and they wanted to find in the connection to this incident. So that was on my page. Now, here was something I looked at. It was like, okay, they only showed a headshot of this woman. It was Miranda Lambert wore this to the Country Music Awards, and liberals are completely enraged. So I couldn't figure out what it was because all they show is her head. It's like, okay, there's a picture of her head, and I don't see anything wrong with her head. So why has she got all the liberals all pissed off? So then you kind of scroll down, you find out she's got a pair of shoes on, sandals, nice toes, and part of the sandal has a gun holster of a little gold gun. It's part of the decoration of her shoe sandal. So basically, now all the left is extremely pissed off by that gesture you can barely see on her foot. So I thought that was pretty entertaining. Anyway, it was kind of interesting on a different note again because it is after the hour. I got this thing on my Facebook page to apply for a MasterCard, but get this, it was for Marvel Comics. Special edition Marvel Comics MasterCard. Now, I've never seen such a thing. It is really cool, and I started to apply for it. It's like, wait a minute, do I really want to apply for another card? Because I did that with Star Wars. I got a special Star Wars credit card. I never even use it. And it's like, that's an open line of credit that's not even going to be ever used or really not used. Yeah, it's never going to be used. I just got it because the card looked cool. And I almost did the same thing with the MasterCard. I was like, you know what? I better think about this twice. Maybe I will get it, though. It says, please enjoy the special extras with Marvel MasterCard. No annual fees. $25 statement credit after your first purchase with your new Marvel MasterCard. So I guess they give you $25 towards your first purchase. 10% off any merchandise that's from the Marvel shop. Free shipping offers on marvelshop.com. So if you go to Marvel's website, you get some discounts by applying for this MasterCard. Special discounts on Marvel Unlimited or Marvel Digital Comics, which I read neither one of those. Now, if it was a Doctor Who credit card, I probably wouldn't even think twice about it. Up to this point, I probably wouldn't even think twice. So, yeah, so that was kind of funny, and I just had to mention it. Now, here was one that was really kind of different, and it was called chicksontheright.com. So it's a right page for from women. And they put this up, and I'm glad they actually did because it was on SNL from this past weekend, I guess, March 12th, 2017. And it was actually really funny. So I watched a skit because it's like, well, you know what? Most of the time, and I think they still are, believe it or not, I believe they really still are. They did the skit with Scarlett Johansson where their whole intention, I think, was just to make an ass out of Republicans, but it backfired in the skit. And it actually really showed that the real assholes, or the real Strunata, sorry, I just lost my thing for a minute there. What happened? The real Strunatas are actually the left. So it was a complete mismatch what they were trying to do. They were trying to make Republicans look like total dumbbells, and it ended up backfiring. So what it was a skit. Are pigs flying? SNL takes a swipe at liberals for once, and it's hysterical. So the skit, again, is with Scarlett Johansson. She is incredible looking. She is one hot little mama. And it was actually really funny. So I think what it is, again, I think they were trying to bust on Republicans. So they try to make it like, well, look how the Republicans pick on the left. And I think that's my guess. And it completely backfired. That's my guess. But either way, it was from like my side, the right side, a women's page for the right, which I have no problem with that. I think it's actually really great. And again, it's called Chicks on the Right. So that means, the Republican conservative women. And it was really funny. Now here's the whole thing. These scientists and reporters from the left on the skit. The scientists wanted to show these reporters that they found a way that they can communicate with animals by this computer that reads and processes in the skit animals' thoughts. Like, you could never understand an animal besides they just bark, and if it's a dog, which it was a dog in a skit, or as a cat would meow. So this translates what their inner thoughts are into words that humans can understand. That was a skit again. So they have this dog on here. It's a pug. I believe it's a pug. It looks like one. And it's this is a funny thing, by the way. The pug's supposed to be a male dog. Well, you can tell underneath it had, there's nothing wrong saying this, it had teats. It was a female freaking dog. And they were trying to pass it off as a male dog. And it's like, well, that alone is just really shows you how stupid they are. But they did do a skit. Again, I think they were trying to pretty much pick on the right, and it ended up backfiring. But the skit was so funny because what it was doing, it ended up, if you really looked at it, even though they were trying to, I think, twist it a different way, it basically, the dog's thoughts were, hey, I voted for Trump because Trump was the better choice. And this is from a dog. And also that some other stuff he was saying, he's not the one who created all these problems for the last 8 years. So I think they were just trying to take a twist on words, trying to make, again, the right look like idiots, or like they're blaming the left. But it ended up being hilarious because it actually backfired, the whole skit. So I would say, yeah, watch this. And again, if I could actually see if they have anything, Chicks on the Right, that is really good. I hope they post more stuff like this, or find more stuff. I hope, honestly, I really would love to believe that the left has actually, some of the people on the media left have actually woken up, but I don't think they have. I think they just made a, farce out of themselves, to say the least. So anyway, again, I'm pushing my time, so it's after an hour. One I put up, but I won't have time to read it, honestly. It's not long. It's after 1 hour. So if you're interested, I found a story from the New York Post. Yes, I did find it. Police fatally shot a pit bull that was mauling a man, chewing at the man. So this has been said before. Pit bulls aren't, everybody thinks this is so great. And that, hey, owning the pit bull, the dogs, it's not the dog's fault. It's the person who owns them for why they act up. It's like these dogs are vicious dogs. They aren't meant to be domesticated. I'm sorry, unless you have a facility so you can keep these dogs penned up safely away from humans, you're really, no puns intended, you're barking up the wrong tree, because these dogs are not friendly animals. It says 2 pit bulls had been viciously chopping on a man for over 15 minutes in a Brooklyn home, were shot and killed by the police because the officers were unable to whack the dog off a 2x4 with a 2x4, witnesses and police said. So this guy who owned 2 pit bulls ended up getting eaten by these 2 pit bulls, or mauled apart, chewing apart. So really good going. These dogs, they will turn on their owners as quickly as they turn very quickly on their owners. So without a freaking doubt. So anyway, some people just don't know that you can't have certain animals as pets, and obviously these people are very, very dumb. Anyway, it was another article. I think I read this before. I'm going to read it again since I'm running out of time. If you want to read it, you can go on to it yourself later on. But at this time, it was from the U.S. Herald.com. Violent rapist thug asks judge for lighter sentence, and the judge basically gives him a much harsher penalty. Originally, I think this gentleman I don't even want to call him a gentleman, who viciously raped this girl who is now blind and paralyzed for life from the attack. He had a sentence for 65 years, and he thought that was too harsh. He was 16 at the time. So the judge said, well, actually, you know what? When I really look at what you did to this girl, your sentence should have been a life sentence. So that's what he got. It says Quina Fu was bright and beautiful high school senior headed to the University of Florida before she was viciously attacked by Kendrick Morris. He was 16 at the time before he had brutally raped an unidentified elderly woman, because he had, a prior situation with somebody, who dedicated time for working in a daycare center. As a result of injuries sustained in the attack by Morris, Queen was left paralyzed. Attacked by Morris, it says Queena was left paralyzed, blind, and mute. She requires constant care from her family, and let me reread this. That is all that remained of her future after Morris's attack, that a Florida judge called heinous, outrageous, and cruel. So this guy, who was 16 at the time, attacked some young girl who was, a senior in high school, was ready to go to college, very bright girl, who now is pretty much deaf, dumb, and blind for the rest of her life, like from this rape, because he had attacked her so brutally. So again, it left her paralyzed, blind, and mute. So that's deaf, dumb, and blind. This girl was a bright girl. Now she's a total freaking vegetable. They show a video of her with her family. She is she looks pathetic. I mean, it's sad. And this guy was asking for a lighter sentence because he felt it was too strong. Again, that goes back to that whole thing with the whole victimization thing. So there you go. We can continue to just have these people believe they're being victimized and do heinous crimes like this guy did. Or we can kind of wise up and realize what these people are doing is completely wrong, and we need to straighten this issue out and once and for all, have this, if you commit a crime that heinous, you should pay the price, and not just a slap on the wrist or something like that. By the way, I just totally forgot about this for people that, like I mentioned before, me being a Doctor Who fan, this is completely off, but right now it says tickets are on sale for season 10 premiere of Doctor Who in cinemas on April 17th and 19th. So you can get those now at Phantom Events. Will be those tickets are on sale now. I'm going to see if they're around me. I totally forgot about that. And by the way, I went on a big shopping spree online from Amazon UK, where, believe it or not, because the British pound is worth like next to nothing anymore because their economy being so screwed up, and pretty much everybody's from all this nonsense going on, that it's actually at this point, for the first time in decades, it's cheaper to buy things from UK and have it shipped over here like Doctor Who than it costs to like buy it in the US. So that being said, I want to find out when the 17th and 19th are. Yeah, so that being said, let's see, 17th is on a Monday, and the 19th is on a Wednesday. Both are shitty days. Means I have to take a personal if I want to do this, or another vacation day. Yeah, I bought all these Doctor Who's, and you know what? I bought like 5 different episodes, because they charge you by the episode, for like £5. And then, well, hey, £5 is like, for 4 of them, is like $20, right, Walter? Well, try more like $15 or less. Because, again, £5, or no, wait, 4 movies, £5 each, is like $20. So what did I say? So let me retake that. Oh, that's like $40, right, Walter? No, it's like more like $25. Because again, now money is like pretty much worthless, even in Europe and especially in England, because of, I guess people not working, letting all these migrants in your country, basically not only destroying everybody else, but also just destroying everything. And the whole economy is just taking basically a shit. So there you go. So thank you so much, England and Europe, for all this nonsense, and the fact that now that I can afford things overseas because your economy sucks. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. So, makes it easy for me to buy things I can normally not buy because it's so inexpensive. So anyway, what else did I have left? Let me see. I went through, I think, everything. Well, I had a couple other stories. But okay, one thing is, by the way, because I don't have time to talk about it now, especially being, it's 20 after. It's almost going to be a 2-hour episode. I haven't done that in a long time. Well, it's an hour and a half at least going to be. Probably by the time all said and done. The King Kong movie, by the way, it did make like record number sales. It did okay, I think, overseas and in England. Overseas in the U.S., it probably made, I think, 150, 160 grand, something like that. Million, I'm sorry, 160 million, about 100. It did okay. It didn't do too bad. It didn't do that great in the U.S., did a little bit better in Europe, but hey, that's cool. I thought the movie was kind of interesting. The reviews were all mixed, but just to get one, I had looked this up. It was on Entertainment Business Insider. We can find it anywhere. The King Kong movie out this weekend has an end credit scene. Here's what it means for a future sequel. So just to cut to the chase, I knew there was going to probably be something. I wasn't quite sure, and there was. And basically, the spoiler at the very end, after all the credits had rolled, a friend told me when they don't turn up the lights in a movie, that generally means there's more to come. That's how you can tell. If they turn up the lights when the credits roll, that means there's no extras. If they don't roll up the screen, turn up the lights, then stay in your seat until all the credits roll, because there's going to eventually be something at the very end of the film, and there was. There was an extra scene. So the bottom line is the extra scene, they definitely made it obvious, if this movie does well, especially, I don't know if they're going to continue if it doesn't do that well, but they made it very apparent that, yes, there is going to be, they basically said it at the very end of the movie, there will be a King Kong versus Godzilla movie. So that is coming to play. That is not a joke. That is really going to happen. Obviously, people have already read about it. So that part was cool. I thought the movie was, it had the feel. I actually thought the soundtrack music for the background was very cool. It was classic 70s music, say the least. And it tried to give you the feel, and it had the feel, I thought, of like Vietnam versus, Vietnam War vets are, coming home, but now they're sent out to fight King Kong. So it was kind of a cool feeling because it had that, pretty well put together, this whole 70s, early 70s, after Vietnam had been, a disappointment or a disaster, whatever you want to call it, misunderstood, that they come home from fighting Vietnamese to fighting King Kong and other monsters on Skull Island. But they try to keep that Vietnam kind of look to the film quality and to the people that were, the characters in this film. I thought it was actually kind of cool because they said, oh, this film was so predictable. That's what I read in a couple of the reviews I kind of glanced at before I went and seen it tonight. And I was like, yeah, but it kind of does not have the same feel. It's a standalone movie. It was a setup for, they made it very obvious it's a setup for Godzilla versus King Kong, whatever, however you want to say it. So that's what I want to say, and that's all. I thought it was a pretty good film. I liked it. Okay, I was looking at, in U.S., Skull Island made $61 million. The budget production was $185 million. So unfortunately, it did not even make what it needed to. It didn't even break even. Basically, it said domestic was $61 million, 42%, and foreign ticket sales were $81 million. So I was off on this final calculation. It said worldwide it made $142 million. So unfortunately, it was like $40 million short from where it needed to be. So the bad thing about that is, with ticket sales being that poor, it may not generate enough to make a sequel. Who knows? Maybe they will. But you never know, because some films, people kind of... And you had Logan, for the last couple weeks. I think Logan has pulled some of the steam and the money out of people's pockets. Like, they didn't want to spend more money on another film unless you already know the whole storyline between Kong versus Godzilla or the whole history of Kong. That would be the only reason why you'd probably be interested in going and seeing that film. Unfortunately, I'll be curious to see, because I was actually kind of hoping for the King Kong versus Godzilla. I think that would do really well. But you never know. They may not do it now. I don't know. And by the way, I thought one person who did a really good job, I think this movie definitely, I felt, proved that he can do really good in action films, is, am I going to say his name right? Tom Hiddleston. I think he, before, I saw him as Loki in what do you call it, films? Thor movies, and I thought he was he's okay. He's not great. I saw him in this and was like, this guy is actually a really good action actor. He's really good, and he kind of reminds me, because he is British, he would make, I said this about someone else, I would really think he'd make an excellent James Bond, personally. And if not that, I thought I read something from comicbookmovie.com at one point. I can't find it now. I could swear that they were going to use him, to replace Harrison Ford in the James Bond movie. So that would be interesting because, he's proved himself that he can play an action hero, an archaeologist especially, or something like that, because that's what, Indiana Jones was. I'm not quite sure what he was in King Kong. It's hard to kind of pinpoint it, but the bottom line is he would be a good choice. He would be an excellent choice. So that part would be kind of cool to see him. And again, there's a picture of him actually in what do you call it, black shirt and tie, a tuxedo or whatever you want to call it, kind of thing. And bottom line is he does, a bow tie and stuff. He does look like he could play physically and, everything else. He would definitely, if they ever got to the point. Now, he's in his early 30s. I think generally they try to start certain actors out as James Bond, like when they're still in their 20s. So that would be a problem. So with the time would come up, I mean, he would be perfect now, but in a few years, they might say he's too old. Now, the only exception they made to that rule, by the way, with James Bond, if they would do that, would have to be, God, I can't remember his name now. I'm going to have to look it up because I'm drawing a blank. Roger Moore. I'm sorry, I just remembered. Sir Roger Moore. Because he actually was doing the TV show The Saint for years, and when he finally did accept the part as James Bond, he was much too old to do the part, but they still made the films, and he still did an excellent job. So, I mean, there is exceptions to the rule, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if they're going to do that. Anyway, wow, I am at an hour and a half practically at this point, so I apologize, folks, but hopefully you enjoyed what I talked about. I would go see Kong before other movies come out that you might be interested in. And, folks, this is Walter from iWalter, and I'm going to sign off for now, and hopefully you enjoyed what I had to talk about tonight. Have a good one, folks.